بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله ما بعد. طيب. So we start on hadith ومن يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. The Prophet ﷺ said that whoever Allah wants good for, He gives him understanding of the deen. Which is another encouragement, textual-wise from the text, an encouragement to learn. That, again, you're not going to find text supporting ignorance. Now, it doesn't mean that we know everything. It doesn't mean that we know everything. It doesn't mean that we're the most knowledgeable people. But in the Quran and the Sunnah, you're not going to find a text that supports and encourages us not to learn. That's what we're not going to find. Does that necessitate all of us are the most knowledgeable people in our area? No, it doesn't necessitate that. But we're always encouraged to learn at the least, or at least to take the means and the pathways to learn, like the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, that man salaka tariqan yaltamisu fihi ilma, whoever goes down the path of knowledge, that Allah will make the path to paradise easy for him. And somebody asked Sheikh Salih Ali Sheikh one time that about his hifz. He said that my memorization is not strong like that. So he said that he was a student of knowledge. He said that everybody that study, they don't turn out to be huffaz, strong. Everybody, that's not the goal, is that you have to be the strongest person. The goal is that you learn and you implement what you learn. Not necessarily that you are the top person, or you're the strongest student, or that you become the greatest hafiz of your time, right? But the qasd, as he's going to talk about now, is the intent behind knowledge is to implement the knowledge. The intent behind knowledge is to implement the knowledge. That's why Shaykh Abdul Razak says, وَالْعِلْمُ مَقْصُودٌ لِلْعَمَلِ. He says that knowledge, the intent behind knowledge is actions, to act on it, tatbiq, implementing the knowledge. وَيُطْلَبْ لِلْعَمَلِ وَلِتَحْقِيقِ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ لِلَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. In knowledge, a person learns and tries to learn in order to act on the knowledge and actualize and implement the worship of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And this is why knowledge is put forth before actions. A person can't act. You can't do the best fast. You can't implement and do the best fast possible without having knowledge of what is the best voluntary fast. Right? In order to know what the best voluntary fast is, you have to have knowledge of what the best voluntary fast is. It's not what I think it is, or you think it is, or this one or the next one, but whatever the Quran and the Sunnah has taught us that the best fast is voluntary, then that's how we know that this is the best voluntary fast, and likewise in other areas. He says, يُبْدَأُ بِهِ, that knowledge, a person has to start with knowledge. Why? لِيَكُونَ الْعَمَلُ وَالْعِبَادَ وَالطَّاعَةُ وَالتَّقَرُّبُ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ وَعَلَى عِلْمٍ نَافِعٍ. A person starts with knowledge so that when they do worship Allah, that they're doing it based on knowledge, not just on this feels like a good thing to do. We're not a people, and we haven't been taught to worship Allah based on how we feel. But we're taught to worship Allah based on, as the Messenger ﷺ said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray as you see me pray. The way you see me pray, that's how you're supposed to pray, based on the actions of the Messenger ﷺ. So he says a person learns and gains the knowledge in order that when they do worship and when they are trying to get closer to Allah, that they're doing it based on knowledge. That they're doing it based on knowledge from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. And he says there are many books. There are many books on basically adab talib al-ilm, the adab of the person who's trying to learn, the student of knowledge. And it doesn't mean we hear student of knowledge and you think that you got to go overseas, you got to travel and leave everything, which is the best thing, in my opinion. That's better. But If you look at the lives of the Salaf, you'll see, and I've experienced people in my classes, you see the Salaf traveled. They traveled, no doubt they traveled to learn, but they traveled when they exhausted all of the options in their locality. When they used up, when they got all the information from all the knowledgeable people in the area, it was nothing else for them to get it. Nothing else there, they sucked it dry. Then they left and went somewhere else. After that, they left and they went somewhere else. And that was the case for a lot of students in my class. They came from different parts of Africa, all over the world. And in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, they had Islamic universities. It's not only Islamic universities in Mecca and Medina, it's Islamic universities in Africa, it's Islamic universities in Malaysia, right? Islam is being taught all over the world. I found that they learned there, and they were stronger than other students, that they learned in their countries first, and then they came for the benefit of being in Mecca and Medina. They came there and they learned again. And in general, a lot of them, their Arabic was stronger than ours. They had more exposure already than we did because they benefited where they were first, and then they left. We think we're not doing no studying now. We're going to travel across the world where it's uncomfortable, it's not what we used to, and then we're going to start, get this osmosis, get this thing we're just going to turn into, right? That's not that it can't happen, but that's not what you find in the books of the Salaf, how they did it. And even people today, people learned in their locality. Once they were finished and they couldn't get anything else, they got all the benefit that they could get there, they would travel further in order to get more benefit. Now he's mentioning some of the books, like the book of Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah. He has a book, Iqtida al-Ilm al-Amal, that the maqsood, and in his book he gathered a bunch of narrations discussing the intent behind learning is to act on the knowledge, not just to collect books and have a bunch of information to the point where, mashallah, we just hope that that information is not used against us, Yawm al-Qiyamah. اقتضاء العلم العمل. He says, بمعنى أن العلم مقصوده العمل وتحقيق العبودية لله. That the intent behind knowledge is acting on that knowledge and to implement the worship of Allah Jalla wa Ala. وَالْقِيَامُ بِهَا عَلَى بَصِيرًا. And that when we worship Allah, that we do it based on ilm, based on knowledge. And brothers, sisters, Saraha, people in general, we're ignorant. A lot of information has not entered into our communities. A lot of information has, and a lot of information hasn't. In general, a lot of our problems come from lack of exposure. We only know one side of the coin, and we think that's it. There's nothing to talk about. Anybody go against this statement, then they're not on the sunnah. Ignorant. Call it what you want. At the end of the day, ignorant meaning lack of knowledge, not ignorant bad behavior. Ignorant meaning lack of exposure. They don't know. And again, it's not a bad session because I'm included. I'm not exempt from being ignorant. Right? Alhamdulillah, we were able to get something. But I'm included. Lack of exposure is a problem. Lack of exposure. And lack of exposure leads to a lot of what we have now. Arguing, bickering. And this is why you find people who have more exposure than us that we would describe in this city, we describe them as foreigners. But those foreigners who we describe as foreigners from different countries, they have a lot more exposure than we have. They have more exposure. So more exposure means that they're a lot less likely to be as hard and harsh, and it has to be like this. Because the more you see and the more you learn, the more you notice that how much you really don't know. If that makes sense. The more you learn, the more you actually see in reality, I don't know as much as I thought I knew. And when you get to that point, it slows you down. You slow down. You say, now maybe I need to pump the brakes a little bit. Maybe I need to slow down. Because I thought all of those people were on bid'ah because they do such and such. When in reality, they're following a hadith that's in Sahih Bukhari and in Sahih Muslim. But I had them down, I thought they were shot out, right? And when that happens time after time, it forces you to humble yourself and slow down. And Allahumma musta'an. And so he says after that, he says, so the worship of Allah has to be done based on knowledge. And the worship of Allah is general. That's a lot. There's a lot of things considered to be worship. Not just the salah, not just fasting. Of course, those are from worship. But even ikhlas, being sincere is from ibadah, is worship. Right? Having ikhlas, not showing off in worship. Realistically, we come from a society of showing off. That's what's generally pushed. That's what we know. So when it comes to worship, we have to be careful to make sure we don't allow that to creep into our worship. He says that the worship of Allah will not be established except by two things. بِالْعِلْمِ النَّافِعِ وَالْعَمَلِ الصَّالِحِ, except with beneficial knowledge and righteous actions. He says, كما قال الله جل وعلا هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق. As Allah says in Surah Tawbah, ayah 33, that He is the one who sent His messenger with al-huda wa din al-haq. Al-huda, that He sent His messenger with knowledge, beneficial knowledge, wa din al-haq. And as it says in the tafsir, the deen of haq is righteous actions, al-muqarrab ila Allah jalla wa ala. Basically, that we only know that something is a good deed based on the Quran and the Sunnah, not based on a person's opinion. I think this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to just do it like this. This is not how we worship. We worship based on revelation. And in order to worship and have that knowledge, we have to have knowledge of the revelation. Does that mean we all have to be the most knowledgeable? No, but there's some basics. There's some basic things that we should all know. There's some basic things that we should all know and share, stand on the same plane when it comes to those things. And this is the end of this section. And again, as a reminder to myself that we have to be people that are balanced. We can't be too far to the right and too far to the left. We have to be people that are balanced. The same way we make time for things that we love, we have to make time for learning and making sure that we understand, making sure that we're worshiping Allah correctly, making sure that we believe in Allah the proper way. Right? It sounds crazy, but there's a whole curriculum laid out, not just in Saudi, in Islamic universities. Wherever you go, Egypt, Malaysia, wherever you go, Yemen, wherever you go, there's an Islamic university, there's a curriculum. And in the curriculum, just like in college, they have entry-level courses. Courses that are prerequisites, entry, madkhal, the introduction, right? You can't go to and study this book. You can't take a level 3 course without taking the level 1 course. And if you do take the level 3 course, you're not going to understand it because you skipped level 1 and level 2. Everybody with me? Right? Just how the same thing in college. Yeah, they got prerequisites, and there's English 101, 102, right? And they give you the numbers, and they give it to you in stages. It's laid out the same way in the Islamic universities. They give it to you in stages. Part of our problem, and I'm telling you this because this is what I saw, those levels, we skip them. So we skip the first level book, and we on level 3. So the people that's listening, the person that is listening, right, they don't know level 1 and level 2, so there's no way they're going to understand level 3. And a lot of times, we're shy to say, I don't know, in front of a crowd like this. We don't want to be the eyeball to say, I don't know, right? It's rare that we find a brave soul right? To say that they don't know. They don't have any problem saying it in front of everybody. We don't like people to know what we don't know, right? But the reality is the level as a whole is not what we think it is. I've had crowds a lot bigger than this, right? For class. And in the crowd, not one or two people, a nice amount of people who did not know who Umar ibn al-Khattab was. Talking about, don't know who Umar ibn al-Khattab, they don't know who he is. Never heard of him. Muslims. Right here in this city, I'm not talking about nowhere far here. Right? Now, these people, they got such marks and big beards and all, you know. Right? Don't know Umar. And if they don't know Umar, then they don't know who? Huh? Before Umar. I don't know, they don't know Abu Bakr. Right? Kayf al-Hal, Alhamdulillah, Tayyib. They know that stuff. Umar ibn al-Khattab, you know him? Nah. Which is not a smash, but reality. People don't know who Umar is. More than that, we're going over the ahkam, the conditions for the salah. I'm talking about a crowd, big, pretty, you know, nice sized crowd, where not one person, numerous people don't know the Qibla. Don't know what the Qibla is, number one. Beyond the Qibla, don't know what the Kaaba is. Muslims here in this city with such the marks and beards don't know what is the Kaaba. Right? I'm just saying the reality. Reality is that we have to give some importance to learning. And the only way I knew they didn't know because I made it comfortable enough. If you don't know, don't sit there and just stare at me and you don't know what I'm talking about. It's nothing to be, we're not in the same high school when you don't want nobody to know you don't know. If you don't know, don't just look at me. If you don't know, I tell you. Right? It's class, it's called ta'aleem. It's a makan of ta'aleem, learning. This is the place to learn. Right? So they were comfortable saying they don't know. Tell you, if you don't know, we do it and we keep moving. But the reality is you have people who don't know the Kaaba. Don't know what the Kaaba is. Okay, tell you, you know the black, you ever see the picture? It's a black, looks like a black box and there's people going around. Yeah, okay, that black, that's the Kaaba, right? Point being that there are people walking around and it's not what it looks like. And we should not, none of us, we should not be comfortable in that type of state. We should not be comfortable that we go by year and we don't know. And we're not improving. We're not learning something new. You're not going to find that nowhere, not in the Quran or in the Sunnah or in the Tarajum, the biographies of the Salaf. You're not going to find that. And if they weren't people of knowledge, because all of them weren't ulama, at the least they were worshipers. They spent time worshiping Allah, at the least. At the least. They were people who read the Quran. They finished the Quran. They finished the Quran. It was a qadi. He was this. He stayed up at night reading the Quran, which doesn't necessitate. It doesn't necessitate because a person can read the Quran and he has a nice voice, or she has a nice voice and the tajweed is good. It doesn't necessitate that they have knowledge outside of the Quran. They have knowledge of that. It doesn't necessitate that they're alim in another area. Point being is that this introduction was a point to show the importance of knowledge, and that is from the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ, and that also Allah praised the people of knowledge, and the Prophet ﷺ described to us in the hadith that everything in the heavens and the earth make dua for the person of knowledge. Even the fish in the sea. Even the fish in the sea make dua for the alim, and that the alim shines brighter than the rest of the stars. Shines bright like a full moon, the night of a full moon. That full moon is the scholar, the person of knowledge, and the worshiper, they are the stars. That's the difference between the two. And it's not something that we should beat ourselves up, but we should take it and try to be better. We should take it and try to be better. As the poet said, I can't remember the line, but he said basically that I haven't seen something more embarrassing كَنَقْصِ الْقَادِرِينَ عَلَى التَّمَامِ, There's nothing more embarrassing than a person who has the ability to do something. They have the ability to, and they don't do it. The person has the ability to learn. They have the ability to understand the hadith, to go further, and that they don't do it. It's not aib. It's not nothing embarrassing not to know. Laysa al-jahlu aiban. That being not knowing something is not nothing to be ashamed of. But to continue not knowing, to go on not knowing, that's something that's shameful. That's, as we say, you're out of pocket, right? Not just the fact we don't know. None of us woke up just knowing. It's time. It takes stages. It takes time. But to continue being comfortable not knowing, that's another issue. And that's what the poet said, that I haven't seen a person, I haven't seen more of a flaw in a person than I've seen with a person who has the ability to do something and that they don't do it. And that they don't do it. Ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to forgive us, increase us in beneficial knowledge and actions, and to make the Quran and the Sunnah a proof for us, not against us. As the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, Al-Quran hujjatan lak or alayk. He said that the Quran will either be a proof for you or against you. That same book that we love, that we say we love, he said, Al-Quran hujjatan lak or alayk. The Quran will either be a proof for you, Yawm al-Qiyamah, or a proof against you. As the ulama explained, if we implement the Quran, Yawm al-Qiyamah, it will be a proof for us. And if we don't implement the Quran, then it will be a proof against us. So ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to make us of the people of the Quran and of the people that act on the Quran. Before we stop, any questions?
You mentioned about traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Today, which is better. You said, what is your, as far as every different program, plus opportunities for those that may not be able to travel, but have opportunities to study, scholars, various programs online or what have you, like that. What is
That don't have the opportunity to travel?
may not have the opportunity to travel, but benefit the same coursework that those who are physically good.
I mean, it's a lot. Now, the way the world is now, with the internet, it's a lot of ways to benefit. It's a lot of ways to benefit. A lot. And this was said over 10 years ago, before we were where we are now. Right? That most things are recorded. Most. I'm talking about early math, class of early math, and it's translated. Now you can do, if you're that type of person, you can do Arabic on the internet. It's plenty of ways to benefit. It's a lot of ways to benefit. It's about the person. What does the person want? I say traveling is because when you go to a place, you're forced to use the language. Right? You're forced to speak this, whatever you learn, you're forced to use it outside. It forces you. Here you could be learning and then you go outside and it's back to, you gotta use the English, you can't really, but you go somewhere where all they speak is that you have to use it. It takes you to another level. You start to see, you see that the potential that you have, that you might never see while you were here because you were never pushed to that limit. That's why I say that traveling is better if a person can. If they can't, it's a lot.
Which leads to the other part of the question. For instance, like there's different curriculum, like you mentioned earlier. For instance, okay, well, right now, they have a job, they have a family, but I can't travel, but I can participate in this curriculum.
Right.
Like, read the classes or coursework, take the exams. Is that looked upon as less than one of the, the reason why I asked that is, I asked that for a reason. Talking to a brother, or an elder brother that, mentioned Imam Malik didn't travel. He stayed in and Shafi traveled.
Right.
Traveled. So it's almost as if because Imam Malik didn't travel. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that he said like a negative thing, but he didn't travel.
Right.
He stayed locally.
Right.
Just to
It depends on the need. The need. So now maybe Imam Malik didn't need to travel.
Right.
He didn't get fatwa. He didn't answer questions until how many scholars okayed him? 70 scholars in one city. 70 scholars in one city okayed him to give fatwa. So maybe Imam Malik didn't need to travel. Traveling is based on the need. If you got ulama in your city, your country, wherever you are, and you can go there, then why would you leave and there's people right there to learn from, right? That's based on the need. Now, if there's nobody there, or you don't know who they are, or you feel like you used everything, you got everything you could get in that area, then travel. But if it's people there to benefit from, then that's the idea. You benefit from what you can benefit from those who are there, and then you go. But it's not like it's a condition. Like you have to stay here a minute. No, you can just go. But me personally, I benefited from the Arabic I learned here before I left. It helped me when I got there. And the people that were in my class that learned before they came, they were generally in the head of the class. The people who did some study in their countries first, when they came to Mecca, they were generally ahead of the class. And the people who just learned, they were generally in the back, not in the back literally, but the level was like a little lower than everybody else's. So based on the need. First 5 things that a person should focus on. It depends. It depends on the person. It depends. It depends. I mean, generally, there's some things that are you need to make sure that your Islam is intact. Basics. If the basics are intact, Aqidah-wise, right? The belief, how to believe in Allah, the belief in Allah, the basic things of wudu, right? Basic things of salah. Those basic things are in line. Then, in my opinion, I would say that a person should make sure that they try to learn Arabic. Nothing like hearing the book, Allah's word recited the way it was revealed, and understanding and then at the least, reading the Quran, the Mus'haf, that every letter is worth 10, every letter, based on the hadith. At the least, even if you don't understand it, the fact that you read the letter by itself, ashara, right? Not that you don't want to understand it, but again, even in Arabic, it's levels, it's stages. You don't just pick up an Arabic book one day, you're in the no, it's going to take time. Dictionary, look up the word, what does this word mean? Vocabulary. So it takes time. But I would definitely make that Arabic a part of the equation. Don't leave it just depend. You want to be able to go to the source. Like the Salaf say, go to the books where we went to. Don't just take everything from me. Go to the books where we took from. And then you can go get it yourself. You don't have to depend on the middle person. If a person has already the basics in order, they understand the basic aqeedah of a Muslim, they understand how to make wudu, how to pray, the basics that they need to function as a Muslim every day, I would make Quran in Arabic. I would say Arabic so that a person can start reading the Mus'haf in Arabic. Allahu A'lam. I don't know if it's something like outside of the basic necessities that a person needs every day. I don't know if there's one way. I don't know if one list, and that's just my opinion, to make Arabic a part of their program. It's not as hard as we think it is. Because I thought it was hard, but it's not as hard as we think it is. But a lot of it is up to the person, dedication. You gotta want it. If you want it, and you make dua and be patient, it's not that difficult. People all over the world, most Muslims are not Arabs. Most Muslims in the world are not Arabs, right? Which means what? They have to learn Arabic just like we have to learn Arabic. We speak English, we don't speak Arabic. It means we have to learn Arabic. They speak Dutch. They don't speak Arabic. They have to learn Arabic. I have people in my class from China. I have people in my class from Russia. I have people in my class from Pakistan. They don't speak Arabic. We're all in there together learning Arabic. We don't have an excuse. We're in America, huh? I ain't saying. That's no excuse. There's people from all over the world. They don't speak Arabic. They sit and they learn. And we have the same ability. We have the same ability. We can't let the shaitan deceive us into thinking that because I'm American, because I'm from this part of the world and this part of the city, and I've been through this, that I can't learn Arabic. That's not. How do we look at Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah, who used to be a highway robber, as they call it, as they say. He used to cut off the road and rob people, right? And then he made Tawbah. He repented to Allah, made Tawbah, and became one of the imams of the Salaf. Imam. The Imam of the Salaf. He used to do what he used to do. Just like we sit back and we say, man, all right. We think we're the only people that's been through something. And a brother told me from another, he said, y'all think Americans, he said, y'all think like everything is here. We think everything starts here. Like, people say, you're going to go to study. Why would you go to Egypt? For what? Somebody, what would you go there for? Study. What? You going to go there for what? Right? As if what? You can't study here? We assume the mentality is everything is already here. It's the world. It's the whole world. People going through stuff that might be a little worse than us. Government chasing them, guns. I sat in a class with a brother from Russia. We sat at the durus with ulama, mashallah, years. When it was time to go home, I asked the brother, I said, when are you going back? Because I was ready. He said, I'm not going back. So why not? I can't go back. What do you mean you can't go back? We done sat in classes, went through count. What do you mean you can't go back? Last time I went back, the government, they were chasing us with guns. They consider us extremists. Because we're Muslim, they consider us extremists. They were chasing us down the street with machine guns. I'm not going back there. I can't. Now I don't want to. I can't go back there. We come here, mashallah. Thobe, kufi, azar, abaya, niqab, gloves, whatever you want to do, turban, khuf, khufs, whatever you want to do. There was a brother in my class from China, Allahumma stan. And this was not, we hearing about it now, it's in the news now, but this was like 10 years ago. He would come to class, he would never wear a kufi, he would never wear a thobe or nothing. He would just come, just a pants and shirt, right? I just got, I'm just coming, I just got there. I was a little, man, why don't you put a kufi on or something, man? You know what I'm saying? We in Mecca. Kaaba right there, man. Put on something, a thobe, turban, whatever you want to do. We're in the land of the Muslims. But when he read the Quran, mashallah, everybody, mashallah, tabarakallah. Sound like the imam at the haram. The teacher knew. When he read, the teacher said, mashallah. Right? So one day I asked him, I said, what's going on with the dawah in China? I asked him, I couldn't understand. Ignorant. Straight from where I'm from, Philly, Mecca. Ignorant. How you look like that the way you look? You dress like that, but you know Quran. That's what I thought. To me, in order for you to know, you had to have on a thobe, it got to be this height, you got to have on this type, blah, 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 blah. He didn't fit the description of what I thought a person of knowledge would fit. So I was confused. I asked him, so how you learn the Quran? Like, what's going on in China that you sound like that? Because mashallah, the sound was nice, mashallah. So he said, and this was 10 years ago, this ain't recent. He said, in China, I don't know what part, he said, it's a policeman at the door of the masjid. I think I might have told y'all this before. It's a policeman at the door of the masjid. And if they check your ID, if you're not 16, they won't even let you in the masjid, period. The policeman, you can't come in if you're not 16. I don't know what they had to do with anything. Yeah, he said, yeah, we're only allowed to have one mushaf per household. One mushaf in the house, right? We got one in the car, we got one in our pocket. You got your wife, she got her own. The kids, they got their own. They got one mushaf per household, right? He said, if you grow a beard, because he used to cut his beard, that was getting, that was burning me up, right? It was burning me more, right? I'm like, yo, man, cut your beard. Say, yo, if you grow a beard, 3 years in jail, automatic, nothing to talk about. There was no discussion. You grow your beard, 3 years in jail, period. Right? This I never knew. All I knew was he had a good recitation. 3 years in jail, period. No mafi, as they say. Mafi kadan. Nothing to talk about. You grow a beard, 3 years. Like, he said, if you give dawah like we doing this right here, you do this, 5, period. 5 years, no rap. You give dawah in the masjid like this, 5 years. Right? On top of all of that, he's a hafiz Quran. He's hafiz Quran. You hafiz Quran with one mushaf in the house, y'all can't give classes in the masjid, they checking IDs at the door, and you hafiz Quran?
What's our excuse?
What's the excuse? I felt like a crumb. I was like on crumb status. I'm like, yo. As he was talking, I was getting smaller and smaller. Like, damn.
You worried about what he got on?
I'm like, oh my God. I'm looking at his word. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried about everything else. So then I asked him, I said, well, damn, how did you memorize the Quran under all that pressure like that? And this was the kicker. We don't have no excuse. We do what we want to do. We do what we want to do. The police will stand out front and protect this masjid. Right now, if we call, they'll come out here and stand in front so nobody comes in here and messes with us. On their end, they won't let them in. That's the government. I said, how did you memorize the Quran? He said, my friend graduated from University of Medina, a friend of mine. He said, so my friend was a hafiz Quran. He memorized the whole Quran. So what I did was, that's what he said. He said, what I did was, I used to sneak out the house in the middle of the night, every night, and go over to his house and memorize on him in the middle of the night. For 2 years until I finished. Allah Mustaan. We bickering, we talking about everything, but we ain't talking about nothing. We talking about everything, and we ain't talking about nothing. Nothing. Snuck out the house in the middle of the night for 2 years. Ducking government agents, sound like TV, right? Until I finished memorizing on him. That's how he became, and he sounded like he sounded when he came and stood and read in class. Omar Jan, his name was, Omar Jan from China. Allah follow. Right? I mean, but it put me in my place. I said, okay, let me just slow down, because I thought you had to have a thobe on to memorize Quran. I thought your thobe had to be a certain height to memorize Quran. I thought you had to wear a certain kufi to memorize Quran. You had to do this. But you don't never know what other people are going through. And we got bookstores on top of bookstores on top of bookstores, classes on top of classes on top of classes. And we keep talking about this brother's off it and don't pray there. Allah Mustaan, wasting time. And we gotta hope and pray that Allah don't hold us and make us accountable for wasting people's time and steering people away from the deen of Allah Jalla wa'ala. Because you talk to a new Muslim now, it ain't like it was 20 years ago. They don't know, people don't know. All they know is this masjid is not good and this masjid is good. That's all people, a lot of people. That's a lot of people. A lot of people, that's the extent of their knowledge. And it's sad, but it's the reality. What we don't want to be is a part of that. And we were advised numerous times by different scholars before we left, don't busy people with that nonsense. Said, leave them. They're going to keep doing that. Leave them. Said, what? Teach people the foundations, and they're going to see. They're going to be able to see all the falsehood. The problem is, people don't know the basic principles of Islam, basic stuff, so they don't know what to look for anyway. They're looking for individual people. They think this man here is a bid'ah, like him. He himself is the problem. Right? They'll think the person. They don't understand that in order for, it has to, you know what I mean, their foundation principles. When you go against something, it's a problem. Right? So instead of learning the basics, as we were told, teach people the usul, and they'll be able to spot it for themselves. Not me, I'm going to tell you everything. Why is this masjid? Because I'm telling you, they ain't right. Like a brother told me, don't listen to him. I'm listening to him. Man, I like him. Why? What's wrong with him? He ain't right. That's what he told me. He ain't right. Why? I'm telling you. I'm supposed to take that. Right? That's not deen. That's not deen. If we was in the street, that's the street. You, my man, we thorough. That's, oh no, all right, we out. That's done deal. Not deen. We got honor between each other. This is your brother. The blood is sacred. The brother, we brothers, Muslim brothers and sisters, our blood to one another is sacred. Our honor, our reputations to one another is sacred. I'm not taking that. You tell me he is this and that. I'm not taking that. You got to prove that, right? But those are basic foundations that it's almost like we forgot them or they don't even exist. Or maybe they're not being taught enough. Allah Mustaan. That's it. Allah forgive us. Increases. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka.